Hundreds of species lived across the spiral arms of the galaxy. They called their union the Galactic Concord. 912 different kinds of intelligent life sat together in the Great Assembly on the shining world of Valor Prime. They spoke through translators, moved on many legs or none at all, breathed gases or liquids or nothing humans could understand. They had rules, old rules, rules written when Earth was still a ball of hot rock with no life. Humans were new, too new. First contact happened 52 years ago. A small human scout ship jumped into a system claimed by the Clythar Dominion. The Clythar were tall, insect-like beings with crystal armor and minds linked in huge shared thoughts. They saw the lone ship and sent a polite but firm warning: leave or be removed. The humans said thank you, turned around, and left. That should have been the end. It was not. Within 10 years, more human ships appeared. Not many, just a few. Each time they came close to someone else's border, they stopped, scanned, then went away again. They never attacked. They never begged. They simply looked, learned, and disappeared back into the dark toward their single yellow star. The Concord watched. At first the elders thought humans were harmless, a young race, loud, emotional, still fighting among themselves on their blue-green world. But they learned fast. Too fast. In 30 years they built drives that folded space almost as well as the oldest species. In 40 years they made weapons that could crack moons if they wanted. They did not use them on others, yet the Concord felt something cold in its many hearts. Humans were Deathworlders. That word carried weight in the assembly. A Deathworld was a planet so cruel that only the strongest survived. Gravity that crushed bones, storms that tore cities, oceans full of poison, air full of bacteria that ate flesh, predators in every shadow. The Concord had records of 17 Deathworld species in history. Every single one of them either died out or turned calm and gentle after thousands of years of pain. None ever reached the stars while still angry. Humans reached the stars while still very angry. So the Concord acted. They sent envoys, smooth diplomats with soft voices. They explained the rules. No expansion beyond your home system. No new colonies. No warships beyond system defense. Share all technology above a certain level. Accept inspectors every 5 cycles to make sure you obey. Earth listened quietly. Then Earth said no. Not with anger, not with shouts, just a calm message sent back on every channel. We thank you for your concern. We will handle our own affairs. The Concord did not like that answer. Debates filled the assembly halls for years. The old insect races wanted force right away. The gas cloud thinkers wanted patience. The crystal minds calculated odds. In the end, the vote passed by a small margin. Containment must be enforced. Humans must learn their place. A fleet gathered. 4,200 capital ships. The largest show of force since the War of 1,000 Suns ended 12,000 years ago. Hulls of living metal. Weapons that could burn stars. Shields that turned reality soft, so attacks slid away. Crews from every corner of known space. They came to Sol in perfect formation, a wall of light and power that blocked the sun from half the inner planets. They broadcast their demand. People of Earth, this is the combined enforcement fleet of the Galactic Concord. You have violated containment protocols. You will stand down all military forces. You will allow landing of occupation troops. You will surrender your extrasolar colonies. Non-compliance will result in orbital bombardment and forced relocation of your species. Silence answered. For 3 full days, nothing came from Earth. No radio chatter. No ships lifting from the surface. No desperate pleas. Just quiet. Then one message arrived. Short, clear. Sent on every open frequency, in every language the Concorde used. We offered peace. You chose force. This is your final courtesy. Laughter rolled through the fleet bridges. Translator matrices turned the sound into something like cruel bells. The Clythar clicked mandibles in amusement. The methane breathers puffed amusement clouds. Even the oldest crystal elders let light ripple across their surfaces in mirth. A bluff. Obviously a bluff. No single system could stand against 4,000 ships, not even a death world. Humans had numbers in the low billions. They had factories on Mars and shipyards on Luna. They had some fast ships and some big railguns. Nothing more. The fleet commander, a tall being named Thriss of the Voran Concordiate, gave the order. Demonstration fire. Target Luna shipyards and Mars industrial domes. Low yield. Show them we are serious. Beams lanced out. White fire touched the gray face of the moon. Huge construction cradles melted like wax. Docks folded inward. Secondary explosions bloomed along the equator. On Mars, red dust rose in mushroom clouds as dome cities cracked open. Atmosphere hissed away in white streams. Still no answer from Earth. Thriss felt satisfied. The lesson was given. Prepare landing forces, he ordered. We take the capital city first. Show the natives what happens when children play with adult tools. Drop pods launched by the thousand. Sleek black shapes fell toward Earth like rain. Inside each pod were soldiers in power armor, drones, heavy weapons, breaching tools. They expected resistance. Maybe heroic last stands. Maybe crowds in the streets throwing stones. They were ready for anything, or so they thought. As the first wave entered the upper atmosphere, every defense grid on Earth went dark. Radar vanished. Missile silos stayed cold. Laser batteries powered down. The planet looked naked, open, defenseless. Cheers echoed across the fleet. See, Thriss said to his bridge officers, they understand now. They surrender. The pods continued their fall. Clouds parted. Cities appeared below. Lights still burned in the night. Traffic moved on roads. Ships sat quiet in harbors. Life went on as if nothing happened. Then something strange occurred. One of the lead battle cruisers, a mountain of alloy and power, named Indomitable Resolve, suddenly listed to port. Lights flickered. Alarms screamed. Reports flooded in. Hull integrity failing. Decks 3 through 9, collapsing. Not collapsing, dissolving. Crew members on the lower decks sent final images before their signals cut. Metal turned to gray dust. Floors became powder. Walls flaked away like dry skin. The entire forward section simply stopped being solid. It drifted apart in a slow cloud of sparkling particles. Then another ship. And another. 3 heavy carriers went quiet at the same moment. No explosions, no fire, just silence. Sensors showed nothing left but expanding haze where warships once floated. Panic replaced laughter. Thriss stared at the main display. His many-jointed hands shook. "What is happening?" he whispered. No one answered. From deep bunkers under Antarctica, from hidden bases at the bottom of oceans, from tunnels bored through the moon's dark side, the truth began to move. Humans had not been idle. They had waited. They had planned. And now, very quietly, they had started to answer. The first drop pods hit the atmosphere like black arrows. They glowed red from friction, then slowed as parachutes and repulsors took over. Thousands of them fell toward the blue planet below. Inside, Concorde soldiers checked weapons one last time. Power armor hummed. Energy rifles charged with soft clicks. They expected fear. They expected screams. They expected easy victory. Earth looked peaceful from above. Cities sparkled at night. Oceans reflected moonlight. No walls of missiles rose to meet them. No fighter wings scrambled. The planet seemed to accept defeat without a fight. The pods touched down in open fields, on wide highways, in empty parking lots near big cities. Ramps dropped. Soldiers marched out in tight formations. They planted banners of the Concorde, gold circles on black fields. Drones buzzed overhead, scanning for threats. Nothing moved against them. On the bridge of the flagship Voron's Pride, Commander Thriss watched the feeds. His mandibles clicked in satisfaction. "See," he said to the officers around him, "they break so easily. No spirit left. The demonstration on Luna and Mars was enough." An officer from the crystal species pulsed soft light in agreement. "Their silence is surrender. We will have the homeworld secured by morning." Reports came in fast. Sector 1 secure. Native populations staying indoors. Sector 4 reports no resistance. Locals observed from windows, but do not approach. Sector 7, landing complete. Beginning march to nearest government building. Thriss allowed himself a rare ripple of pleasure across his skin plates. This would be remembered as the shortest enforcement action in Concorde history. Then, the first strange report arrived. It came from a heavy carrier called Steel Dawn. The message was short and confused. Anomaly on Deck 14. Bulkhead, flaking. Request medical team. Thriss frowned. Metal did not flake like old paint. Before he could ask for details, another message cut in from the same ship. Deck 14 gone. Not damaged, gone. Air holding, but metal turning to dust. The bridge went quiet. Thriss opened a direct line. Steel Dawn, report status. Static answered at first. Then, a panicked voice. "Commander, it's spreading. Decks 13 to 16, dissolving. Crew reporting skin loosening. The feed cut to black. On the main display, the icon for Steel Dawn blinked once, then turned gray. Sensors showed the massive ship still there, but readings dropped to nothing. No power, no life signs. Just an expanding cloud of fine particles where the forward half used to be. Thriss stared. "Full scan," he ordered. "What weapon did they use?" Scanners swept. They found nothing. No energy spike, no projectile, no radiation. The ship had simply stopped being a ship. Before anyone could speak, 2 more carriers reported the same thing. One after another, like dominoes falling. Hulls turned to powder in perfect waves. Crews vanished mid-scream. Engines died without fire or explosion. The ships drifted, empty shells, shedding metal like dead skin. Panic spread across the fleet channels. Indomitable resolve breaking apart. Shields failing. No, shields are fine, but armor is. Medical bays reporting crew. Molecules coming loose. Thriss slammed a fist on the command rail. All ships raise full barriers. Evasive maneuvers. Find the source. But there was no source to find. From hidden places on Earth, deep caves, underwater domes, bunkers carved into mountains, Project Erebus came alive. Decades ago, when the first Concorde inspectors arrived, humans smiled and obeyed on the surface. Underneath, in secret labs, they studied the visitors. They took apart captured drones. They listened to encrypted talks. They learned the physics the galaxy took for granted. Then they went further. They did not invent clean fusion or gentle telepathy. They found the ugly things, the broken rules of reality, ways to make atoms forget how to stay together, ways to push small regions toward the end of time itself. Weapons no sane species would build, because the cost was too high, even for victory. Humans built them anyway. They called the main system the Erebus Array. It did not fire beams or missiles. It sent out quiet pulses. Changes in the rules of probability. Matter that should stay solid was told, very politely, that it no longer had to. Bonds broke. Structures forgot their shape. Life forgot how to hold order. the Concorde fleet had perfect shields against energy and kinetics. They had no defense against a weapon that said, "You are already dust," remember? One by one, the biggest ships failed. A dreadnought named Eternal Harmony folded in on itself like wet paper. Its crew broadcast final images. Metal walls turning soft, then liquid, then mist. Faces melting not from heat, but from simple loss of structure. Smaller escorts tried to run. Engines flared. They jumped toward the edge of the system. Most never made it. Halfway through acceleration, their hulls gave way. They became clouds of sparkling dust spreading outward. Thriss watched his fleet die in silence. No explosions lit the sky, no great battles raged, just quiet erasure. He turned to his science officer. "Can we block it?" The officer's crystal body dimmed. "We do not even know what it is. There is no energy trace, no vector. It is happening from inside the ships." Thriss felt something he had not felt in centuries. Fear. He opened the fleet-wide channel. "All vessels, full retreat, jump to Rally Point Alpha, do not engage. Repeat, do not engage." Too late for many. By the time the order went out, over a third of the fleet had already turned to nothing. The rest fled in disorder. Ships collided in their haste. Some jumped blind and never arrived. Others limped away, trailing debris that used to be friends. On Earth, people came out of shelters. They walked into streets still warm from landing pods. They looked up at the sky, where bright lights used to be. Now only faint dust clouds glowed in the sunlight. A child pointed. "Look, Mommy, the stars are falling apart." The mother pulled her close. Just visitors who didn't listen. Deep under the ice of Antarctica, in a long concrete hall lit by cold white lights, a group of scientists watched screens. Numbers scrolled. Wave patterns moved like slow breaths. One man, gray-haired and tired, spoke softly. "Array holding at 32%. We can keep this up for another 6 hours before cooldown." A woman next to him nodded. Enough to finish the lesson. They did not smile. They did not cheer. They simply watched as more icons on the display turned gray. Above them the planet turned quietly. Cities stayed lit. People returned to homes. Life went on. But something had changed. The galaxy had come to punish a small world. The small world had answered. And the answer was final. The surviving ships of the Concorde fleet jumped away in panic. Many arrived at the rally point missing pieces. Some never arrived at all. The ones that did limped into formation around the massive repair stations hidden in the outer dark of the system. Crews stumbled out in shock, faces pale, eyes wide. Many still brushed gray dust from their uniforms, dust that used to be friends. Word spread fast. Across the galaxy, news channels lit up. Images played on repeat. Battle cruisers turning to mist. Drop pods falling silent mid-descent. The proud fleet reduced to scattered clouds of sparkling particles. No fire. No glory. Just quiet disappearance. On Valor Prime, the great assembly hall filled with emergency voices. Diplomats shouted over each other. Translators struggled to keep up. The insect races clicked in rage. The crystal beings pulsed angry red light. The gas clouds swirled in tight, furious patterns. "How?" one elder demanded. "How does a single primitive world do this?" No one had an answer. Scouts were sent back to Sol. Small, fast ships. They approached carefully from the outer edge. They never crossed the old Oort cloud line. Instead, they watched from far away. What they saw made them turn and run. A faint shimmer hung in space. It looked like heat rising from hot ground, but colder. A membrane, invisible to most sensors. Anything that touched it simply stopped. No crash, no flash, just absence. A scout drone drifted too close. It vanished mid-transmission. The last image showed its hull starting to soften before the feed cut. The scouts sent urgent messages home. The humans have raised a barrier. Nothing crosses without permission. We lost 3 probes testing it. The assembly fell silent for the first time in memory. On Earth, people stepped out into daylight again. Streets filled slowly. Children ran to parks. Workers returned to factories. Life tried to feel normal, but eyes kept looking up. The sky still held faint dust rings where ships had died. In hidden command centers, leaders met. No celebrations, no speeches, just quiet talks. The array performed as expected, one scientist said. We held back the worst of it. Cool down complete in 12 hours. Another nodded. They will try again. Diplomacy first, then force. We need to be ready. They turned to new screens, maps of the galaxy. Dots marked every world that voted for the attack. Red for yes, yellow for abstain, green for no. Too many red dots. A woman with tired eyes spoke softly. We send the message now? The room agreed. Deep space relay stations, small black boxes hidden in asteroid belts and comet tails, woke up. They had waited decades for this moment. Now they broadcast on every frequency, every language, every code the galaxy used. The voice was calm, human, male, no anger, just fact. To the Galactic Concord, and all who aided or stood silent during the attack on Earth. You came to our home. You killed our people. You destroyed our outposts. You thought we would break. You were wrong. We are not hiding anymore. We are awake. This is not a threat. This is a statement. We have your names, your worlds, your fleets, your votes. Cross our new boundary again, and those records become actions. We do not want your empire. We want our peace. Leave us alone, or learn what happens when you do not. The message looped. It played for days. No demands for surrender, no calls for revenge. Just a clear line drawn in space. The galaxy listened. On core worlds, crowds gathered in public squares. Huge screens showed the message again and again. Species that had never feared anything felt something new, a cold touch in their minds. Some leaders tried to speak against it. Bluff, they said. They cannot reach us here. But the scouts kept reporting. Human ships appeared again. Not many, black shapes, smooth, no sharp edges. They moved like living things. They did not attack. They simply waited near the shimmer barrier. When Concord probes tested the line, the black ships did nothing. The probes still vanished. One brave Concord cruiser pushed forward. It fired warning shots. Lasers hit the membrane and bent away like light through water. The cruiser accelerated. Half its bow crossed the line. The front vanished. The back kept moving for a second, then tumbled. Engines flared uselessly. The ship spun slowly. Crew broadcast screams until the rest crossed and silence came. No debris, no wreck, just empty space. Panic grew. On Valor Prime, the assembly voted again, this time for talks. Envoys were chosen, 3 ships, white flags on every hull. They approached the barrier slowly. They stopped far outside. They broadcast polite requests. We seek dialogue. We offer terms. A single black ship appeared. It did not speak at first. Then a voice answered, the same calm voice. Terms are simple. Withdraw all forces from human-claimed systems. Recognize our borders. Never return without invitation. The envoys agreed quickly. Too quickly. The black ship vanished. The envoys waited. Nothing happened. They waited longer. Still nothing. Finally, they turned back. When they reached home, they found new reports. Small human outposts had appeared in neutral systems. Not aggressive. Just there. Mining drones, sensor arrays, quiet claims. And around each one, the shimmer membrane stretched a little farther. The barrier was growing. Slowly, surely, like a shadow spreading at sunset. Species near the edge began to move. Fleets pulled back. Colonies evacuated. Old alliances cracked as fear turned neighbors into threats. On Earth, factories hummed again. Not for war, for rebuilding, for ships, for stations, for the long quiet that would follow. Children played under skies that now felt bigger, safer. Adults worked with steady hands. They knew the galaxy watched. They knew the message had been heard. They knew it would not need to be repeated. Not yet. Time moved differently after the barrier appeared. For most of the galaxy, years passed in fear and argument. For humans, locked in deep bunkers with time dilation fields, only months went by. They worked, they planned, they waited. The Concord tried everything to fix what they had broken. First came offers of peace. Diplomats sent long messages full of apologies. They spoke of misunderstandings. They promised huge payments in rare metals and clean energy tech. They even offered to give back the ruined shipyards on Luna and the cracked domes on Mars. Envoys waited at the edge of the shimmer for answers. No black ships came out to meet them. No voices answered. The messages simply echoed into empty space. Next came threats. The Concord rebuilt what they could. New fleets gathered, smaller but still strong. They tested the barrier with drones and old ships pushed by robots. Every test ended the same way. The objects crossed the line and vanished. No warning flash. Just gone. Some leaders still called it a trick. They cannot keep this up forever, they said in private rooms. No species has endless power. We wait them out. Others knew better. Quiet voices in dark halls spoke of the dust clouds still floating near Sol, dust that used to be living beings and proud ships. They remembered the silence of the dying fleet. They did not sleep well. Then the real message arrived. It came without warning. One moment the stars were quiet. The next, every screen, every communicator, every public board across the galaxy lit up at once. No source could be found. The signal seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. The words appeared in perfect translation for every species. The voice was calm, steady, human. This is Earth. You thought we were weak because we stayed quiet. You thought we were broken because we did not scream. You thought we followed your rules. You were wrong every time. We have watched. We have waited. We have remembered. Every world that voted yes to our destruction. Every shipyard that built the weapons aimed at us. Every station that cheered when our outposts burned. We know your names. We know your homes. We know your children's names. We have marked you. Small beacons wait near your stars, near your cities, near your hearts. They have slept for years. Now they wake. If any Concord force crosses our border again, any border we claim, the marks become active. That is all you have. Dismantle your war fleets. Broadcast full acceptance of human space. Recognize every system we hold now and will hold later. Do this and the marks stay silent. Refuse, and you will see why our old stories call war hell. You have just sealed your doom. The message ended. For one heartbeat, the galaxy stayed still. Then chaos broke loose. On core worlds, crowds filled streets. Some screamed in anger. Others wept. Leaders ran to emergency rooms. Screens showed the same thing over and over. Lists of names, planets, species, exact votes from the old assembly session, dates, times, words spoken in secret rooms now played aloud for everyone to hear. At the same moment, small lights appeared on sensor screens across known space. Tiny probes, harmless looking. Some floated near gas giants. Some hid in asteroid rings. Some drifted close to capital cities. They had been there for decades, dropped during early human scouting trips when everyone thought they were just curious explorers. Now the probes glowed softly, red, steady, waiting. Panic spread like fire. Fleets turned on each other. Captains accused allies of betrayal. Soldiers refused orders. Some ships jumped away without clearance, seeking neutral ground that no longer existed. On Valor Prime, the Great Assembly Hall emptied fast. Diplomats fled to private ships. Guards tried to hold order. It did not work. The Crystal Elders dimmed to near black. The insect leaders clicked in broken patterns. The gas beings swirled into tight knots of fear. One old diplomat stayed behind, a methane breather named Vor. He had voted yes that day long ago. Now he stared at the list with his own name near the top. He sent one last message to his home fleet. "Stand down, all ships. Stand down." No one answered. Across the stars, humans watched from their hidden places. Not with joy, not with hate, just with calm eyes. In one deep bunker under the Pacific, a small team sat around a table. Screens showed the galaxy map. Red dots pulsed where the probes waited. "How many will listen?" a young engineer asked. The old commander shrugged. "Some will, some won't. The ones who won't, we'll handle." They did not speak of killing. They spoke of ending, of turning off the lights, of letting order slip back into nothing. Outside, Earth turned slowly. Cities rebuilt. Farms grew again. Schools opened. Children learned new maps. Maps with a growing circle in the center. Human space, empty of alien voices. The cycle began. Days passed, then weeks, then the first deadline neared. Some worlds broadcast surrender. Small species on the edge sent clear messages. "We accept, we withdraw. We never wanted this." The red lights near their systems stayed steady. Did not brighten, did not act. Others stayed silent, or worse, they sent defiant words. "We will not bow to primitives." Those red lights blinked once, then twice. On a core world called Therion, home of the tall crystal people, a fleet gathered one last time. They would test the line. They would show strength. They launched. Half the ships never left orbit. The probes near Therion woke fully. Quiet pulses spread. Not loud, not bright, just enough. Crystal towers softened. Walls turned to fine powder. Streets filled with gray mist that used to be homes. The sky filled with silent falling dust. No screams lasted long. The planet did not explode. It simply forgot how to stay together. From space, it looked peaceful. A world slowly turning into a cloud. The rest of the galaxy watched the feed until it cut out. More worlds followed. Some surrendered at the last moment. Their probes stayed dark. Others did not. The marks did their work. Quietly. Finally. When the cycle ended, the galaxy was smaller. Many stars still burned. Many worlds still lived. But the proud fleets were gone. The old rules were broken. And in the center of it all, a single blue-green world waited. It did not gloat. It simply existed. And that was enough. The cycle ended. Not with a bang. Not with fire across the sky. Just quiet. Across hundreds of systems, the red lights on the probes went dark. One by one. The ones near worlds that had spoken surrender stayed cold. The ones near worlds that stayed silent or shouted back brightened for a short moment, then did their work. Therion was first. The crystal homeworld turned to gray mist in less than a day. Towers that had stood for 10,000 years softened like sugar in rain. Streets filled with fine dust that drifted on slow winds. The sky stayed clear. No explosions, no craters, just absence where a proud people used to live. Next came Clithar Prime. The insect hives cracked open. Shared minds went quiet, as bodies forgot how to hold shape. Queens dissolved in their chambers. Warriors turned to powder before they could raise a claw. The great web cities floated apart like broken spider silk. One after another, the marked worlds followed. Some vanished fast. Others took longer. Stars near the edges dimmed for a moment as gravity remembered it had no center anymore. Nebula spread thin. Gas giants lost their rings in silent unraveling. The Concorde did not fight back. There was nothing left to fight with. Fleets had mutinied, soldiers had deserted, leaders had fled or hidden, or simply stopped giving orders. The old assembly hall on Valor Prime stood empty. Dust gathered on the seats where 900 voices once argued. In less than one standard year, the galaxy changed shape. Old maps became useless. Borders moved not by conquest, but by disappearance. Neutral systems near the growing human sphere emptied fast. Species loaded ships with what they could carry and ran to the far arms. They did not look back. Human ships moved out slowly, not in fleets of thousands, small groups, black shapes without sharp corners. They claimed systems one at a time. No flags, no speeches, just quiet beacons left behind. The shimmer membrane followed. It stretched like a slow tide. Systems that accepted the new reality stayed whole. Systems that did not stay. Earth itself healed. The scars on Luna filled with new domes. Mars grew green under sealed skies again. Cities on the homeworld rebuilt taller. Streets filled with people who walked with steady steps. Children played in parks where drop pods once landed. They laughed without fear. In deep bunkers, the Erebus array slept again. Cool-down cycles stretched long. Technicians checked readings. They did not speak of pride. They spoke of necessity, of what had to be done, so it never had to be done again. Traders from distant edges began to test the waters. Small ships approached the new border with white signals and open channels. They carried no weapons. Sometimes permission came. A black ship would appear, scan them, then let them pass with strict rules. No military tech, no recording devices, no questions about the barrier. The traders returned with stories. They spoke of clean cities, of people who looked you in the eye, of markets full of strange foods and bright lights, of quiet rules: do not threaten, do not lie, do not stay too long. They also spoke of the silence. No broadcasts begging for alliance, no calls for trade empires, no grand speeches about destiny, just a single repeating beacon on the edge of every claimed system. Human space is closed. Do not enter without clearance. Any vessel crossing this boundary will be destroyed without warning. The words never changed. They never needed to. Years passed. The galaxy learned new stories. Old ones about the unstoppable Concorde became tales told in whispers. New ones grew about the small blue world that ate fleets without noise. Parents used the name Earth to make children behave. Be quiet, they said, or the humans will hear. On Earth, the people did not care about the stories. They built schools, they planted trees, they looked at stars through telescopes, and remembered when those stars sent death. Now the stars stayed far away. One old woman sat on a bench in a park near the rebuilt capital. She had been young when the fleet came. She remembered hiding in shelters. She remembered the day the sky filled with dust. A child sat next to her. "Why don't we go visit other worlds, Grandma?" The woman smiled softly. "Because we already did, and they didn't like what they found." The child frowned. "But we could be friends now." "Maybe someday," she said, "when they remember how to ask nicely." The child looked up at the sky. It was blue and clear. No ships, no lights, just sun and clouds. Inside a quiet room far below the surface, a small group met once a year. They were the last keepers of the old decision. Gray hair, tired eyes, steady hands. They looked at the galaxy map. The human sphere had grown. Not huge, not greedy, just enough. One man spoke. "Do we stop here?" A woman answered, "For now. The array stays ready, but we don't reach. We wait." They nodded. No more messages went out. No more warnings. The galaxy had heard once. That was enough. In time, new generations rose on Earth. They learned the old stories not as anger, but as lessons. They flew ships to new stars. They met the few who still came close. They traded. They talked. They kept the border firm. And always, in the quiet between words, the truth stayed simple. Humans had not wanted war, but when war came to their door, they answered. They answered completely. Now the stars were quiet, and in that quiet, Earth turned, alive, whole, free.